So what do you do in wargaming when you're not really sure about a rule? And it could very much affect the game. How do we handle this? We've checked the internet. We've checked the manuals. I've checked the books. I've checked the PDFs. We need to make a decision. Where do we go? Now, that's what I want to explore in this vlog, and I'm going to highlight something from a BattleTech game that was a lot of fun, very interesting. We're sure the rule is somewhere in there. We couldn't find it. It's definitely not in the core rules. TAC Ops, maybe. Combined Arms, possibly. Technical Readout, some obscure place. I don't know. We looked through everything. We looked online. I even texted my BattleTech buddy, and he's like, don't really know. I don't think that's ever happened. I mean, it makes sense that it would happen with you, Fritz, but we've got to check this out. So we posted up on the BattleTech forum, and there's a couple of ideas there. So I will turn it over to you guys, BattleTech experts, if you can find it, or if you agree or disagree, but using this idea of BattleTech as a template when there's a rules question. So in my opinion, the most important thing is to keep the game going. We have this simulation. We have this narrative. We have this thing we're trying to achieve. And in that moment, you say, well, okay, this is what I want to do. Can I do that? How is that handled? Now, if we can't find a ruling, it's not like Dungeons and Dragons where the DM, if they can't find a ruling, the Dungeon Master, they can make a decision in that moment. Whether you like it or don't like it or know or don't know, they keep the game going. I don't want the game to kind of bog down in this moment because it pulls us from the narrative. It pulls us from the immersion. I want to be there rolling dice. I want to be blowing up mechs. I want to be having fun. But at the same time, we're investing time. So I want that ruling to be positive. I won't say correct because sometimes it's an interpretation. The last thing I want to do is have my opponent feel like somehow they've been robbed of opportunity or the rules have worked against them. It's one thing, and I've been there where, look, I've got this crazy idea. Didn't work out. Probably wasn't going to work out, but it's in the rules that I can do it. I tried to set up the situation as best I can. It doesn't work out. I can't be upset at the game. I can't be upset at my opponent. But I don't want my opponent to feel like it wasn't Fritz that beat me. It was this kind of weird rules interpretation. So I never want that to happen. So the first thing we do is, can we obviously identify the rule? And if we can interpret the rule correctly, there we go, problem resolved. And 99% of the time, that happens. Being a wargaming system, you don't know every rule. Playing multiple war games for a long time, I know the rules, but sometimes I forget the rules. Sometimes it's just mashed up. Sometimes like a rule from another system will pop into my brain. So I do have to kind of look things up. Nothing wrong with that. When in doubt, look it up, search it, call your friend. But let's talk about interpretation, or if we can't find a rule. Two options, generally speaking, and it depends on the situation. If I'm at a gaming club or if it's an established group, what we used to do is have the store manager or have kind of this third-party rules expert make a calling. Hey, pull them over. This is what's going on. This is what I think. This is what they think. What do you think? Kind of like you do in a tournament. I guess we were influenced from tournament play, where if you're playing a wargaming tournament, you have a question, you call over the TO, the tournament organizer, they make a ruling, and there you go from there. This worked because we had a social contract with the group that this person would make a ruling, and they were a fair person. Absolutely fantastic. It kept the game going, and if you got ruled in your favor or against your favor, there were no hard feelings. That worked. But that's not always possible. The method that I don't like, then the method I do like, and then the conclusion. How would you handle this rule? I don't like dicing it off. I understand that. It's really quick where it's like, how does this rule work? Well, I say that you don't get a cover save. I say that you do get a cover save. Dice it off, 1 to 3 yes, 4 to 6 no. I don't like that because if it goes in my favor, it's the dice. Come on, the dice are swingy, the dice gods. If it goes in my favor right away, you're like, I'm not happy, reroll. If it goes against my favor, I mean, personally, I'm like, whatever, we'll keep going. I've won so many games. I've lost more games than I've won. It's all good either way. But I don't like that. I don't like that way of doing it. I'd rather just give it to my opponent. The other part is, and I prefer this the best, What does my opponent think? Here's the rules. Here's how we do it. How do we handle that? You decide. I read the rules. I make my thought on it, my interpretation. You read the rules. You have your interpretation. You rule on it. Yes or no? Can I do it? Can't I do it? How much damage do you take? Is it partial damage? Whatever it's going to be. I like to put it on my opponent. And by putting it on my opponent, they can decide, no, that doesn't work. Well, there goes that tactica moment. Maybe it shifts the game. Okay, but win or lose, you can't have any hard feelings. And if I still pull it off, you can't have any hard feelings. Like, I literally give you the rules interpretation. I will make a case. I will look in the rules. But that's generally what I prefer, to let my opponent make a calling, and let's make a decision that you're happy with. And then we move on. And I don't turn that decision into like a 15-minute debate, this and that. Here's the rules. Here's what I think. Here's what you think. What do we do? You decide. Back to rolling dice. And let's see what happens. If I do lose the game in that one moment, then you know what? My tactica probably wasn't that strong. So that's how I prefer to resolve it. How would you resolve a rules question or a rules dispute? Okay, jumping into the narrative. And Battletech players, let's find it. The clans. City fight. City tech. Fritz defending. Multiple stars coming in. Light vehicles, skimmers, warriors engaging the clans. Reporting in. I'm playing Inner Sphere. Launching my main mech assault force. It's going out there. LRM carriers, longbows, lighting things up. Infantry. Loading up multiple Karnovs. Like the signals given, just potentially real time, hundreds of infantry pouring out of the spaceport, loading up on the Karnovs flying off. Clans do not have air support. Going to where the 2 stars are clans do have long-range firepower, but we've started to engage Karnovs overhead. Drop the infantry off. We're talking dozens and dozens of stands of infantry swarming, climbing up those mechs. Physical attacks. So now this comes into the question. I've got infantry swarming all over these mechs, and the clans, they want to get the infantry off the mechs. So we're looking in the rules. How do you do that? Well, you can smash things off, right? I mean, literally smash things off, but we're looking at the rules, and it seems like you can't brush the infantry off or smash the infantry off if you don't have hands and you don't have the manipulators on the arms to do that. And his clan mechs don't. So this is the question. I'm like, can you even get the infantry off, bro? And he's looking, and I'm looking. I mean, it's a good question. It kind of doesn't make that much sense. I mean, even though clan mechs are all gun arms, I should be able to like just move and brush myself off with that. I mean, there is manipulation to fire them, but we're just looking. And we're saying, okay, it's not really clear in Battletech. I mean, has that happened where you have hundreds and hundreds of swarm attacks on infantry climbing all over the mechs and you got to get them off? So then we kind of look and it's like, well, all right. I mean, I guess you could shoot your mechs. Could he do that with some firepower? I mean, is that really in the rules? Voluntarily shooting your mechs? So I look and say, well, I think we found this here and we found something on the forum. I'm like, I have no problem if you want to shoot your own mechs. Yes, it will absolutely vaporize my infantry, but some of that damage is going to transfer over. Not that I wanted to sacrifice my infantry, but they know they're there defending the Inner Sphere. They'll have to do what they have to do. We looked at that. So then we came up with this idea, and it was his idea, and I said, well, I don't see any reason why you couldn't do this. So if you want to shoot your own mechs, absolutely. If you want to follow this end, absolutely. Falling prone, you can voluntarily fall prone and roll around on the ground. That's going to dislodge my infantry. That's going to deal with my infantry. I felt that was fair. It's in the rules. It's combining one set of rules with another set of rules. So, okay, it's going to vape my infantry. Well, it only cost me a couple of, 3 or 4 or 500 battle value in the first place. And if I've got 2 stars rolling around on the ground, as I saturate them with LRM fire and finally get my my Banshee squad up there to smash them out. That's worth the battle value, but I felt like that was a fair thing where it's like we can't really find, if you don't have hands, how do you get the infantry off you? Otherwise, do you shoot yourself and transfer the damage, or some of it? How that works, I don't know, 50-50. Or do you voluntarily fall prone, which you can do, and do you voluntarily roll around on the ground, which you can do, and that'll transfer to the infantry. So we had almost 2 turns of 2 stars rolling around on the ground. So from that perspective, right, I put it on my opponent. What do you think? We really can't find anything, any clear cut. I'll turn it over to you guys in the comments. How do you handle that rules question? And if you're a BattleTech enthusiast, how would you have ruled about this? Fritz, page 158, TAC Op. There it is right there. You missed it. You don't need hands, brother. Possibly. We meant to go back after the game and kind of look it up, and we never really did because we moved on to other BattleTech games, and it's never come up since launching hundreds and hundreds of infantry against 2 stars. But I tell you this, next time the clans invade the inner sphere, I've got even more infantry ready to go from the last time. So I guess I should figure it out because it will absolutely come up again.